Every massive empire you see today started in a cramped, empty bedroom. But how does a regular kid with zero budget turn an internet hobby into a multi-million-dollar production machine? Today, we are breaking down the exact formula of the world's biggest creator. This is the untold story of MrBeast.
All right, let's dive right into this explainer, decoding the impact engine and the blueprint for success. Today, we are tearing down the mechanics of modern digital success. And look, we're talking about something way bigger than just 15 minutes of internet fame. We're going to deconstruct the exact formula behind Jimmy Donaldson's digital empire, of course, better known to the world as MrBeast. We aren't just looking at flashy thumbnails today, folks. We're actually decoding what I like to call the impact engine, along with the psychological blueprint you need to build it. So grab your notes, because the architecture of the success is remarkably simple, but it is ruthlessly demanding.
I want to kick things off by really putting the sheer scale of his actions into perspective. 1,000. Recently, Jimmy Donaldson provided hearing aids to 1,000 individuals. I want you to stop and really just think about that scale for a second. This wasn't some massive corporate initiative, right? It wasn't a global, multinational nonprofit. This was driven by a single content creator. It's just staggering real-world impact. But, as you can probably guess, whenever you operate at this completely unprecedented scale, you are going to draw some intense scrutiny. And that brings us right to the friction surrounding his entire model. You've got critics on one side who frequently accuse him of using charity just as a tool for views and clout. But Jimmy's counterargument? It's actually incredibly straightforward. His logic is basically pure math. He says if making a video about doing a good deed generates the revenue needed to go out and help 1,000 more people, well, the cycle entirely justifies itself. For him, it's not about the purity of the optics. It is strictly about the reality of the outcome. So let's look at the actual mechanics of this philanthropy. It forms a completely self-sustaining loop. Step 1, make a video about doing good. Step 2, generate revenue from views. Step 3, use revenue to help thousands more. And then you funnel that next massive act of charity right back into step 1. When you strip away all the emotional debate online, you start to see this exactly for what it is. It's a perpetual motion machine of philanthropy, and it's funded entirely by audience attention. Through this remarkably simple loop, we're seeing viral content transformed into a massive engine for global human impact. He's essentially taken the underlying mechanics of virality. We're talking retention, click-through rates, perfect pacing, and weaponized them for good. The core takeaway you need to grasp here is that digital attention is a currency, and when it's structured correctly, that currency can literally be converted into tangible, life-altering resources for people. Okay, so that's the engine. But understanding the engine is really only half the battle. To actually build something of this magnitude, that requires a very specific type of architect. So let's shift gears and check out the blueprint for your ambition. What is the ultimate takeaway from the meteoric rise of MrBeast? Like, how does a guy go from making videos in his childhood bedroom to shifting global culture and funding these massive philanthropic operations? Well, the very first step in understanding this blueprint is shattering the myth of luck. Seriously, throw that idea out the window. Jimmy Donaldson is not superhuman. He had absolutely no secret industry connections, and he certainly didn't start out with a massive bankroll. So what did he have? He had an uncompromising consistency paired with a very healthy dose of obsession. He built this entire empire on traits that are completely within human control, but let's be honest, they are incredibly difficult to maintain over the long haul. Think about it like this. Back then, he was manufacturing high-quality content when absolutely nobody was watching. He was grinding through the algorithm, studying retention, and perfecting his craft to an audience of 0. And now, he's executing the exact same formula while the entire world watches his every move. The stakes have definitely changed, right? The budgets have absolutely exploded. But that fundamental obsessive work ethic, it hasn't shifted an inch. Which leads us to this quote, which is really the anchor of his entire philosophy. He famously said, "If you can find something you are willing to do for a decade without making a single cent, you are virtually guaranteed to win." Just let that sink in for a second. A decade. 10 full years of zero financial reward, sustained entirely by your absolute obsession with the craft. This is the ultimate filter, guys. It weeds out everyone who is just in it for the clout or looking for a quick win. And this reveals a much broader truth about ambition in general. Success is never a lottery ticket. We all know that success is the visible tip of an iceberg built on years of unseen, silent, and grueling labor. What we see today, the millions of dollars being given away, the massive global recognition, that is just the ice sitting above the waterline.
It's entirely supported by late nights, failed experiments, and continuous reiteration that absolutely nobody ever claps for. When you boil it all down and you strip away the massive sets and those crazy viral mechanics, you are left with one undeniable fact. He conquered the internet because he simply refused to stop trying. Honestly, it's the ultimate testament to uncompromising willpower. He didn't just outsmart the system overnight. He simply outlasted every single person who threw in the towel when the unseen labor got too heavy. Which leaves us with the single most important question of this entire explainer. We've seen the blueprint, we've broken down the impact engine, and we've talked about the unglamorous obsession required to actually build it. So, what about you? Do you have an idea or passion that consumes your thoughts like that? Are you willing to put in the unseen decade? I'll leave you to think about that.